evening and welcome to We the People. This week, in what is being called an empowering landmark judgment, journalist Priya Ramani was acquitted in a criminal defamation case. Priya Ramani, a victim of sexual harassment, acquitted of the charge of defamation laid on her by her former editor, BJP leader MJ Akbar, in a brazen attempt to silence women's testimonies of being molested by him. The allegations against MJ Akbar were backed by accounts of no less than 20 journalists. And yet, it was the woman who had to stand trial as the accused. This was a blatant attempt of a perpetrator of sexual harassment to punish his victim for speaking out, and it was shut down. But beyond the exhilaration of this verdict, what are the implications of the verdict for reporting and prosecuting sexual harassment in the workplace in India? What changes on the ground? Does it have ramifications beyond an individual case? Well, on the show tonight, we have the intrepid Rebecca John, senior advocate, the lawyer for Priya Ramani. We have Namita Bhandari, senior journalist, a columnist, a friend of Priya Ramani. She's closely followed this case from the beginning, which means it has been over 2 years now. Trisha Shetty, she's the founder and CEO of She Says, which aims to end gender-based discrimination and advance women's rights in India. Chinmay Shripada, well-known singer, she raised her voice during the Me Too movement, making some hard-hitting revelations and accused Tamil lyricist Vairamuthu of sexual harassment. And Dr. Veena Mukherjee, award-winning senior journalist who won a sexual harassment case against the statesman in 2014. First and foremost, Rebecca John, thank you for joining us tonight. Big congratulations on your stupendous victory. What a week it's been. But Rebecca John, beyond the euphoria of this verdict, while there's definitely a huge sigh of relief that Priya Ramani was acquitted, what does it mean if the man here, one who's been openly accused of sexual harassment and abuse at the workplace, he's out there, free, not held accountable for his crimes, out there with, only this supposed slur on his reputation?
I think, Sarah, you have to understand that Priya Ramani was an accused in this case. She was not prosecuting Mr. Akbar.
Yes.
She was being prosecuted because it was the claim of the complainant, Mr. Akbar, that she had defamed him because she had used the Me Too platform to make allegations.
Isn't it ironic?
Against him. Now, how does this go forward? Can Mr. Akbar be punished? I think these questions will have to be answered by the individual women because those women chose to speak out mostly after several years on the Me Too platform, essentially because the Me Too platform gave them a safe platform to come out and make these disclosures, which had happened several years ago. If you were to read the very compelling testimony of Priya Ramani, as well as Ghazala Wahab, who appeared as a defense witness and also made disclosures about what had happened to her, both of them said that they were not looking for revenge. Both of them said that the only reason they made this disclosure was to correct something which was deeply problematic, correct a historical wrong, and to bring out the truth in the public place, because men who hold high positions and continue to hold high positions should be held to account. Ghazala in particular said that she was not being vindictive and she did not wish to prosecute, but she had every right to disclose what had happened to her. So I think we should leave it to individual women to decide what they want to do. And this pressure which is put on women to prosecute and to follow the legal process sometimes is unfair because the legal process itself is very brutal. Priya Ramani took 2.5 years to prove her innocence, almost 60 trips to Delhi from Bangalore, leaving a young child in Bangalore, and depending on other family members to take care of her. So this is not an easy journey for anybody who is going through the legal route. Of course, we used the opportunity which was given to us by way of this defamation complaint by putting Priya herself on the stand. Priya was a defense witness speaking in her own favor because she had pleaded truth as a defense. We also got two other amazing women to speak. So I think there is a historical record now of what happened. And it is for the future to judge what to do with men like these.
So there's a historical record and there are fallouts, right? Legal and social. Legally, what does this mean? Can this be used as a precedent in other cases? I mean, can a woman now not be asked, why didn't you speak up earlier?
No, I wouldn't say that. As a lawyer, I must be responsible in the statements I make. Every criminal case is decided on the facts and circumstances of that case. This case was decided on the facts and circumstances of this case. We led a robust defense. That defense was found to be true. Now, going forward, whether this will act as a precedent, well, if women are willing to come out and testify in their own favor, if they have corroborative evidence, then of course it would result in a victory for them. But more importantly, what this case told us was the understanding of the judge with respect to the public interest plea that we had taken.
Correct. But can this be used as a precedent to stop powerful men from using the defamation law to silence women? Will it make powerful men think twice before they can take their victims to court? I mean, could their lawyers at least advise them that, look, this would be a foolhardy route?
Yes, in terms of defamation law, I think a very, very important judgment has come out because there was selective targeting of one individual when so many women spoke out against this particular person. And I think the defamation law, as far as defamation law is concerned, we've had an authoritative judgment on the subject.
All right. So the Ramani verdict will hopefully serve to deter powerful men from using the defamation law to silence their survivors, but we're still very far away from ensuring workplaces are free of sexual harassment for every woman. We're going to try and get Chinmay Shripada up. She'll join us from Chennai, I think, but let's go across then to Trisha Shetty. Trisha, you know, there are ways and there are ways of attempting to silence women, right? You've tweeted that the government is attempting to silence Disha Ravi, for example. But, you know, there was some disturbing reporting on the Ramani trial that says that during the trial, there was this highly uncomfortable, intimidating environment that was created for the accused, you know, and we've seen these scenes in Hindi movies, but this is real life. And where we saw women victims, Priya Ramani, Ghazala Wahab, they were sniggered at as they narrated their ordeal. And many of those who were sniggering were women from MJ Akbar's legal team. Similarly, just a few weeks ago, we saw a woman Bombay High Court judge declaring that skin-to-skin contact was required when a 12-year-old complained that she had been sexually assaulted by a 39-year-old groper. That was a verdict from a woman. So we have a long way to go.
Undoubtedly, you know, firstly, thank you so much to Rebecca John and Priya Ramani for leading us all in the good fight. You know, firstly, we have to understand what are we celebrating here, right? We are not celebrating Priya Ramani getting access to true justice in terms of some sort of redressal happening for the sexual harassment that she was subject to at the workplace. We are celebrating here the fact that a woman who dared to speak up to a powerful man is not, has been acquitted in a defamation case that was slapped against her. The intent behind the case was simple, to silence and intimidate and to basically tell women to, you know, stay in line, know their place, know their place. Of course, we are bound by a patriarchal system, which is not limited to a gender. We see this happen time and again. And the beauty of the Me Too movement was that for the first time we were looking at a completely decentralized platform, a democratic platform, where you didn't have to go to a media house and expect that the media house would carry your story against a rich, powerful person, presumably, and you didn't have to go to police stations to hope that they would take the police complaint. You were using social media and saying "Me Too," and what we do know, much like in the case of MJ Akbar, is that these kind of perpetrators are usually repeat offenders, right? It took a lot of women to come forward to say, look, me too. This has happened to me too. And what this, I think, should make us question is, one, the legal system. It's fair and good to tell women, complain. As an advocate, as someone who runs an organization, the first thing we always tell people who come to seek access to justice is you must complain. You must seek access to, the legal systems and the laws that have been hard fought. But we also have to understand the lacunae in the system. We also have to accept that the system in itself is a punishment for a lot of these survivors when it comes to the way victims of sexual abuse, of rape, of acid attacks are treated in government hospitals. You see the kind of abysmal healthcare they are treated to, the fact that most of them don't even know their PP. Right? When the public prosecutor comes with such a big deck of cases, they have never spoken to the PP. They have no idea what is happening. The fact that these cases go on for years and years. So
you have to keep them abreast of the reality of what that fight could mean.
They are being systematically silenced.
Okay. Chinmay Shripada joins us. Chinmay, you were among a handful really from the Indian film industry who spoke up during the Me Too movement about what many say is, the industry's worst kept secret, right? You spoke up against the national award-winning lyricist Vairamuthu and his sexual misconduct with you. Your reaction to the Ramani verdict first, please.
As I'm hearing, right, for the past few days, Priya Ramani and Rebecca John won it for all of us. And the verdict, line by line, every word is an answer to all these questions that is repeatedly, literally thrown at our faces. It's like spat out. Why so late? And why on social media? Are you seeking publicity? You are actually not as famous, as reputed, or as talented, or as brilliant as the man that you are accusing. So this is clearly a publicity stunt. So this is usually what women are also pitted against. So I was basically accused of speaking out too late, shamed for speaking out too late, and I should have apparently, and even now, as an award-winning singer myself with a presence in 6 languages, and beyond Tamil Nadu, nobody really knows about Mr. Vairamuthu. But now they're asking me that I'm doing this for publicity, especially against a man that people don't know beyond Tamil Nadu. And they're saying, oh, you're doing this for fame, right? So the aftermath of that, for me, has been an actual legal industry ban. The Tamil Nadu industry, yes. The Voice, the dubbing union basically banned me from working. And this was in 2008. And since then, I have been going to the City Civil Court in Madras for my right to work. I had my career's biggest hit in 2018 in October when I outed the national award-winning lyricist. But thereafter, my work has dried up. And now I'm used as an example. See, this is what happens when you speak up against powerful predators. And I'm okay. I knew what I was walking into. But I think it was necessary because he was the industry's apparently open secret. And after I spoke up against him, everybody said, oh, we already knew, but then who wants me, right? So the systems in place, whether it's women or men, by default tend to have this system which perpetuates silence, and the system of perpetuating silence and silencing survivors rather than...
This is the norm. It's a rite of passage, right? So, you talked about what how much it's cost you professionally, right? You, in this story, you've spoken openly about this performance in Switzerland where you were asked to visit Vairamuthu sir, as he's called in the industry, in a hotel in Lucerne, and you were asked to cooperate. When you refused, you were flatly told you won't have a career. You put your foot down and you said, career vendam, mannam vendam. But the truth is, you do want a career, right? We all do.
Yes,
you want wonderful, soul-satisfying work, right?
Yes. And somehow, I think our careers, our talents, our entire body of work is somehow not as important as that of our molesters. And we are constantly told that we are not enough, right? No matter how much you do, You can be a South Indian and win an award in Marathi, but still you're not good enough against.
Well, until this verdict, but they're
molester.
saying right to dignity is greater than right to reputation.
Yes, and that's exactly what we wanted to hear, because nobody was telling us that. And I remember I was because the first date that the verdict was supposed to be announced, and then they deferred it by another week. My stomach was in a constant state of knots, because this verdict and what would be said, every word, every comma would be used for or against us.
Yes.
And this would have led to a lot of copycat judgments. I don't know if this would lead to a copycat judgment, but something on the other side of the coin would have, right?
All right.
Just like the skin-to-skin contact.
Okay, so we have Chinmay
to
saying that this will lead to, it will have reverberations in future cases. She believes it will have reverberations in future cases when other women speak up. Namita Bhandari, the big picture here, please. If you can put on, we know you're a close friend of Priya Ramani's, but if you could put on your journalist hat here, on the same day that this verdict was announced, we saw the murders of two Dalit girls, right? Like the papers the next day, I mean, heartbreaking. On one hand, you had the big picture of a jubilant Priya Ramani and Rebecca John. On the other hand, just below them, the story of the murders of two Dalit girls that came to light. The incredible hostility to Nodeep Kaur, fighting for Dalit and labour rights for women. In the larger picture, what is the impact of this verdict? Does it actually, does it build on the Vishaka rulings? Does it give new legal shields to women? Does it go beyond an individual case?
Of course, it goes beyond an individual case. And let's not forget, this country seems to be at war with us, with women. So whether it is the Dalit sisters in Unnao, whether it is Bhavri Devi, from whom, to whom we owe our sexual harassment laws in the workplace, she never got justice in her own case. She was gang raped. And a lower court judge had acquitted the men, saying that, oh, they are upper caste men. How would they have touched a lower caste woman? This is still to be heard in the High Court. So women, I mean, you have, whether it is the Delhi gang rape of December 2012, whether it is stalking, whether it is acid attacks, I mean, the country seems to be, we have such strict laws. We've brought in the Criminal Amendment Act, we've brought in mandatory death sentences, we've lowered the age of delinquency, we've raised the age of consent, and none of this works. Yeah. We've even had extrajudicial, I'm not condoning it, but we've even had encounter killings, as we did in Hyderabad, to which a lot of MPs cheered. So obviously something is going wrong. There is something systemic about it, and I think we haven't paid enough attention to Judge Ravindra Kumar Pandey's judgment, which is, every time I read it, and I have read it now several times, I mean, it astounds me, the breadth and the sweep of it, the understanding and the empathy. Sexual harassment, he says, takes place behind closed doors. It is very difficult to prove. So of course,
a witness or someone to talk about it.
Exactly. So there is an understanding. Why don't women speak up? I mean, we have to understand sexual violence, whether it is harassment at the workplace or whether it is rape. These are about power structures. The Unnao sisters, they're Dalit girls. People say, don't make it about caste. But of course it is about caste. You feel that because these are Dalit daughters, you can do what you want. The police can do what they want with the families of these grief-stricken family
members. Make their bodies without their permission.
Absolutely. So sexual harassment, sexual violence is about power. It's not just a powerful editor or a powerful minister. It could be your factory supervisor.
Sure.
It could be the landlord of the farm.
Factory supervisor, Namita, you, Priya Ramani, Rebecca John, you've all been very contained in expressing jubilation or vindication, etc., because you've been mindful of the fact that this Me Too movement isn't representative of a large percentage of India, right? Factory workers, women employed in the informal sector, farm labor, domestic help, where, as you're pointing out, sexual abuse and worse is routine. Now, you've asked this question in your journalism. How does one make this an inclusive movement? Do you have any answers now?
No, but we keep chipping away. That's how the women's, I mean, that if you look at the history of the women's movement in this country, from dowry and sati, to even rape, to the Mathura case, it's always chipping away, bit by bit by bit. And so today you come to 2021, where a judicial magistrate can stand up and make the statement, you know, and we say, wow. So it's a small, tiny breach, which is why we're not going wild with celebration. But yes, it is a significant victory. Let's not
a significant
deny
victory,
it.
a huge fight. And we fight.
But we have miles to go, miles and miles to go.
And we fight on the shoulders of women before us, right? You talked about Bhavri Devi.
Of
We have
course.
Dr. Veena Mukherjee joining us. She fought a similar battle back in the day, a brave, lonely battle. Victim shaming was even more common then. But you won your legal case, the defamation case that was filed against you. Do you believe, after seeing the verdict today, seeing the public reaction, the press coverage, that the reaction that you get when you go to your supervisors, which is what happened in your case, that, you know, this is normal, I mean, cooperate, avoid it, ignore it, like just work. This is what happened. This is a rite of passage. Has that reduced, you think, Dr. Mukherjee?
Definitely it has. I mean, I would say it is also another fact that today we have the SHW Act. During my time, the SHW Act was not there. The Vishaka guidelines had been in place since 1997, but then hardly any of the organizations, including media organizations, were following them. So definitely there has been a lot of progress here. By the way, I wanted to correct you. I won my case, my industrial tribunal case in 2013, and my defamation suit I won in 2018. Okay. Thankfully, I mean, we do have the SHW Act. Even the Vishaka guidelines were there. And I would say, yes, the government has had very good laws, but there is hardly any implementation. Just now you said that, you know, what could we do to, you know, at least the informal sector, women in the informal sector, for them to, you know, get the best part of, you know, protection under the law. I think we do have the local complaints committees that the government had said should be set up. But yet, you know, there was a survey done some time ago, and it was found that in many states, these are not yet existent. In spite of the fact that
so
we have
sexual
had
harassment at the workplace, really,
yeah.
It's a problem of institutions, of laws, not individuals, really. We're running out of time. I want to first just see if I can get a few just reactions from the audience. Do we have Rudraprati Prajwal? Yeah. Could you unmute yourself? Student of Sri Ram College of Commerce.
Ma'am, in these kind of cases where the only evidence is the testimony of the woman, how can the judiciary decide what actually happened?
All right. Ritu, a student of Hansraj College, can we just get your comment in? The judge has responded to that, saying that since this happens in secret, you can't be expecting to find witnesses in this case. Ritu, a student of Hansraj College.
My question is, the court said that the woman has the right to put their grievance after decades, but generally we said that in such cases, people say कि इतने सालों बाद क्यों स्टेप लेना है, फैमिली की रेपुटेशन खराब हो रही है, कहीं ये कोई ट्रैक तो नहीं, etc., etc. So my question is, what do you think that this statement can change mentality of our so-called society and people? Yeah, will it prove beneficial, just like that Ramban for victim women?
So can the verdict, the judgment, change mentality? So what you're saying, it's important that mentality changes of society. And Nitish Kumar, a student from Hansraj College.
Yeah, ma'am. Ma'am, there's a statement by court in Priya Ramani verdict that a woman has the right to put her grievance at any platform and even after decades. Then how to be sure that this statement will not be misused in future?
Will not be misused in future. All right. Namita, would you like to take that question on? A concern here from this young man who says that this could be misused in the future.
I think we are so concerned as a society about how women will misuse every single law, from rape to dowry to 498A. If we worried as much about men misusing the law, I think we'd be in a very safe place. Of course, every law can be misused. Okay, on a serious note, I'm not saying women are born with a halo around their neck, around their head. Yeah, it will be misused. That's why you have prosecution. That's why you have examination. That's why you have evidence gathering. And there is a process. And if there is misuse, let me tell you, there is also a provision in our laws which says that if you misuse a law, you can go to jail.
All right. So Trisha, I think you want to make, we're completely out of time, so if I can just give you 30 seconds for a quick closing argument.
Right. So one is, people worried about misuse. We have to understand it was not Mr. MJ Akbar who was the defendant in this case. He was the complainant, actually. So even here, we are celebrating that a woman has not had a criminal defamation lawsuit filed against her. And second, this is important to know, truth is the complete and ultimate defense to defamation. So to those worried, to the survivors worried about speaking up, please know truth is the complete and ultimate defense. And even in Priya's case, she had corroborated a statement with other witnesses who came forward. MJ Akbar had his friends come and speak about his high repute. That was his defense, that he could not have sexually harassed someone because he was a man of stellar repute. So here we're talking about human rights. We're talking about the right to dignity. We're talking about the right to work in a free and safe environment. Once those rights are established, then we can entertain whataboutery. But first, let women breathe, let women work, let women live dignified lives without having to worry about the repercussions they will face at a workplace being hostile thanks to sexual harassment.
And that is what we need to fight for. First, we all deserve and have a right to a violence-free and safe workplace. There is no debate tonight because there's nothing to debate there. That is a basic right for all of us, especially women. Thank you all for joining us on We the People tonight. Bye-bye.